Hello friends, today I'm going to help you understand how to flip real estate contracts online. Has technology made real estate investing easier or more challenging? Well, in a lot of ways, it's made it easier to the point where people have asked, can you flip real estate contracts online? And if you stick with me, by the end of this video, you'll know how to flip real estate contracts online without massive investments, and you'll learn how to leverage technology to maximize your profits. One of the coolest things about the technological age that we live in is we have data at our fingertips at any given moment. And with this data at our fingertips, have you ever wondered how you can make money in real estate without ever even owning a piece of property? And are you curious about how you can do this completely online? Well, stick around as I dive into this step-by-step process of virtually flipping real estate contracts online by first explaining what it means to flip real estate contracts. Secondly, I'm going to talk about the important elements when it comes to flipping real estate contracts online, and I'll even discuss the tools that you're going to need to do that. And finally, I will walk you through the exact strategy that I'm currently doing to do just this. So if you are ready, let's dive in. So what does it mean to flip real estate contracts? First off, let's understand a real estate contract. It is a piece of paper, a document, 10 to 12 pages long, that says seller is selling said piece of property to this buyer at said price. Now, there's a lot more that goes into it than that, but that price is probably one of the most important things when it comes to flipping real estate. Now, as you go through this process of trying to get a property under contract, there's going to be other things you negotiate on, such as price, obviously, closing date, inspection period, fixtures and furnitures, and many other things. There might even be multiple addendums attached to this, but once you have that real estate contract signed by both parties, you are now in a position to flip that contract. But one important element that you have to understand is you have to utilize the correct verbiage when you yourself are buying this piece of property. And that verbiage goes like this. It is your name and / or assigns. I do that every single time I buy a piece of property, whether I'm buying it, I'm looking to flip it, or I buy it to plan to hold myself. Because I might just put in my name because it makes it easier to get all the financial documentation that I need in my name versus my LLC's name. But I promise you, before I close on that piece of property or when I close on that piece of property, I am going to assign that property to my LLC because I do not want to hold any properties in my name, but I want to hold those in my limited liability company in order to limit my personal liability on that piece of property. And once you have it under contract and it says and or assigns, you could add somebody to it, or you can assign that contract, meaning flip that contract to somebody else. And honestly, one of the neat things about this is exactly how I made my first $40,000, $50,000 in real estate. And I kind of lucked into it. And honestly, I had no business pulling this off, but I'd understand enough. Somebody told me that I needed to utilize and or assigns. And when I had done that, I was able to get quite a few properties under contract. They were in one area, one unit, one purchase, and I was able to get it and or assigns, and I was able to assign 6 of these buildings to somebody else. And like I said, make about $40,000 to $50,000 just by assigning or flipping real estate contracts. So what are the most important elements when it comes to flipping real estate contracts online? Number one, it has to be price. And when you're looking to get properties at a discount, at a lower price than it's marketed as, or is it listed as, or than the market says it is, there are 2 important elements that you have to understand. One is it's probably a distressed property or a distressed seller. And most time when you're flipping contracts online, it's probably the latter of a distressed seller. A distressed property is one that has some challenges, right? It needs some cosmetic work or some physical work done on that to help get it to a place where it can be turned around and sold. A distressed seller is somebody who's going through a challenging situation. Maybe they need a move. Maybe they're going through a divorce. Maybe they're not able to keep up with payments. There could be a number of different reasons why they need to sell that property. They need to sell it quickly, and they need to sell it at a discount. And many times to find these deals that are either a distressed seller or a distressed property, you can go to realtors, and I utilize realtors a lot, but one of the most important ways to find these properties that are off market, that aren't listed with a real estate agent, is to utilize real estate investment software. These softwares are amazing of pulling so much of this data that I talked about and being able to help you at your fingertips find the properties that will fit what you're looking for. Now, there's a lot of them out there, but the one that I absolutely love is called RealFlow. And RealFlow is a property where I can filter what I'm looking for in all areas throughout the United States. I can narrow it down, but I can put filters on there that I'm looking for pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, absentee owners, or many other different filter criteria to find exactly what I'm looking for. One of the other cool things about RealFlow, it does assign an AI score from 0 to 1,000, and obviously 1,000 being the highest on whether it's a good wholesale deal, a rental deal, or a retail deal. So if you find a home that has a wholesale score of 900 or plus, that is a pretty good candidate to be able to get that property under contract and flip that real estate contract online. Now, you don't have to pay for real estate software. Most of these require a payment. Some of them will have a trial period where you can utilize it for free, but you can even use Zillow. I use Zillow quite a bit for a lot of my real estate investing. And as I mentioned, I also use realtors. Probably some of the last couple of properties that I purchased and got under contract, I found through Zillow or through a real estate agent. Now, another key important element that many times is slept on is an element of compassion. So as I mentioned, you are buying properties off market or on market, and the person you're buying from, you need to get at a discounted price. And those people are in a challenging situation, right? It's probably a situation that many people wouldn't want to be in their life, but for whatever circumstances, they're there. And going into that situation with compassion, helping them understand, or being someone who has in their mind that I want to create the best win-win scenario I can, that is a person who's going to get a deal done and help the person on the other end of this deal not feel like they're completely taken advantage of, right? So going into it thinking like, how can I serve? How can I help this person? I've done that many times where I've paid for rent in another place for these individuals for 2 or 3 months. I've paid for a moving truck, right? I've allowed them to stay in the home probably longer than they would, but I've got them out from under the barrier of a bank breathing down their neck every single day. And if you can go into it with compassion, that is the type of individual who is going to get a deal done. Number 3 is having a buyer's list, right? Having buyers. And there's a couple ways to do that. Building a buyer's list, obviously, through people you know, like, and trust that are interested in investing in real estate. That's how you can build your buyer's list. But many people say, well, that takes too long. Is there some way that I can expedite this? And there absolutely is. And that's joining Facebook groups that are involved in investing in real estate or wholesaling. And then once you find a property, that could be a great tool to take that Facebook group. And I've seen it 100 times where people go on there and say, listen, I've got this property under contract for this price. I'm willing to let it go for an additional $10,000. If you're interested, reach out to me. And I have seen tens, 50, 100 different comments on these posts. And guess what? All those people that are commenting and raising their hand and saying, I'm interested, those then become part of your buyer's list. But I have transacted where I've bought a piece of property from a Facebook group and I've sold a piece of property because of a Facebook group. So it is a fantastic way to find buyers to be able to flip these real estate contracts online. And a bonus element is having a lender that you know, like, and trust that's willing to help you purchase these properties with cash quickly to be able to turn around and flip them. So I'm going to explain to you right now a strategy that I have utilized that costs you no money utilizing Zillow to find, purchase, and sell or flip real estate contracts online, and it's utilizing Zillow. So the first thing you do is you go to Zillow and you're going to look in a city, a decent sized city that's just on the outskirts of a major metropolitan area. And you are going to filter on that for sale by owner. Next, you want to go to home types and you're going to put homes. Single family homes is what we're looking for, homes. Now you're going to go to the tab that says more and you're going to select by owner and other. And owner posted or owner coming soons are the only ones that are selected. Then you're going to press apply. Now, once you have that list of homes that are for sale by owner, homes, once again, you are going to query that where you find the ones that have been listed for sale by owner the longest. So if you just click on newest or oldest, that will query it for you. And if you go to the very bottom, those will be the ones that have been listed the longest. And you might see some that have been listed for 700 days, 300 days, 200 days. Those are the ones that you want to target. And understand, if you were going to flip a real estate contract online, you've got to get it at a good price, like we've established. And many times if somebody has had it listed for a long time, they are more open to taking a lower price, right? So when I ask those individuals, once again, I go into it thinking I need to get this home at this price, and I'll start negotiating directly with the owner. But it is a great way to find properties that are potentially dealing with distressed sellers because they've tried to sell this home for a long time, and where it hasn't sold at what they're asking for, they understand the need to potentially take less than they've been asking. Now, here's the interesting thing. You might not need money at all to go ahead and make this happen. Because what you're going to do is once you get this property under contract and or signs having that language in there, you need to put out there an inspection date. And the longer you can get that inspection date, the better off you're gonna be. So if you can get that inspection date 30, 45 days out and you close in 45, 60 days, that's gonna be key, because during that inspection period, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna do two things. Number one, you're gonna go to Facebook like we talked about, and you're gonna go to some of these Facebook groups and say, listen, I have this property under contract. I'm willing to let it go at this price. If you're interested, contact me. And you will start to see the comments come in, especially if you've got it at a good price. And then at that point, you're just negotiating with those individuals that have raised their hand that are interested in buying that property, and they will be the ones that close on that piece of property. And when they close at the bank, you'll receive your money, and the individual who's buying the property will get it at the price that you and that person agreed upon, not what you and the seller agreed upon. You are playing the middleman. So you're gonna get the difference from what the seller and you have it under contract for what you and that potential buyer have it under contract for. So if that's $10,000, $20,000, $5,000, that's what the title company will send you after this is transacted. And another way to do that is going back to Zillow, search the exact same area and filter just houses, but you're looking for homes in that area that are for rent, not for sale. This will show you all the landlords that have properties in that same area where you're buying a home that are listed for rent. And you can go to those individuals and say, listen, I know you have rentals in this area. I have another home under contract in this area. If you would like to add this rental to your rental portfolio. Because many times you might see the same person own 2, 3, 4 homes in that area. So for them to acquire another one at a discounted price could be a fantastic win-win situation. And then you can offer this property to them $10,000, $15,000, $5,000 above what you have it under contract for. And if the landlord's in that area, they can go look at the home under your inspection period, and you can let the seller know, listen, I've got a potential partner that's gonna go out and inspect the home, and they will give me feedback on what the home looks like. Now, those are two different ways that you can utilize technology to flip contracts 100% online. But I'd be interested in your feedback. What have you seen work really well to flip real estate contracts online? Comment below, let's engage in a dialogue. As always, just for stopping by, watching the video, I have a free gift for you. It's 100% free, no questions asked. It is my short-term rental calculator. You put in the price of the home, the income, the expenses. It spits out to you whether it's a good deal or not. And it's just on this link below, aaronsfreetraining.com. Once again, thank you for stopping by. Have an amazing day.